Jacob Morales from Tag Marshall was here all day. We appreciate your sponsorship. Before we get Gordo from South Africa, Jacob wants to say a few words. So,
hi everyone, thanks for having me. Just wanted to quickly introduce myself. My name is Jacob Morales. I've met a few of you, but for those who haven't known me, I am the new partnership sales executive for the Northeast for Tag Marshall. So really looking forward to being the premier sponsor of the New England chapter of the association, and hope to meet with each and every one of you at some point over the next season or two, and really looking forward to connecting. So without further ado, I'll let Bodo do his thing.
Thank you, Jake, and thanks, Elaine, for providing this opportunity for us. I have another colleague of mine who you're very familiar with online with me, David Hamilton, all the way from Augusta, where he's still clearing out his yard after the recent storm. Thanks for making time for us, David. And for those of you wondering, this is actually Jake Karen, who's now online with a German accent. My name is Bodo Sieber, CEO and co-founder of Tag Marshall, as Jacob kindly introduced, and I'm here to do a brief education session on enhanced pace, play experiences and revenue, the business impact of data and on-course optimization tech. And we're delighted to be working with the New England NGCOA section, and I hope that you all had a very good couple of days workshops and wrapping up a strong season. From Tag Marshall's side, just to give you a bit of context, we work with 600 partner courses, some of the very best in the world. This has been a really exciting season for us because we had Pinehurst, Valhalla, and the St. Andrews Gold Course host majors. So we're all very proud. We obviously know those operations inside and out from behind the scenes from a data standpoint. So it was great to see them perform on the big screen as well. We eat and sleep and drink data in golf operations. We've tracked 75 million rounds of golf, and we now have 10 billion data points. And as you can imagine, that's amazing food for our algorithms and machine learning programs. And we're nerding out very happily to help improve the industry. We also work with the DP World Tour, the USGA, and others in the tour space. But the majority of our business is really the day-to-day daily fee operation and the day-to-day private club, and anyone who wants to look and improve and unleash data and getting more out of the operation. So there are 3 points I want to talk about today. What's the big deal with pace anyway is the first one. And we've got a nice picture of one of our partners that's local, that's Deep Sea Boston. So what's the big deal with pace? Well, if you ask players, and the USGA obviously has done that with an extensive survey, the players coming back and saying that the top factors for us are course conditioning, playing partners, and pace of play. So pace of play number 3 in terms of play experience factors. And then the NGCOA went and did the same and asked all you operators, what are the top priorities for you? And again, pace of play comes in 3rd, this time at 84%. So it is a top 3 play experience factor. It is very important. Now the question is, well, was it always important? Was it important in 2015? Was it important during COVID? Is it important now? Well, here's some food for thought, right? And it looks like this. You're all familiar, right? Last mile tracking, get food in 28 minutes, and your delivery in same day or less than 24 hours. Now, why is this important? What's got to do with golf? It's got everything to do with golf because there are now more golfers aged 18 to 34 than any other group of golfers, right? So where golf has always been about time and taking your time in that 65 plus bracket, that is certainly changing. And that new generation golfer, where we're so blessed to have them and have attracted them, many of them came through Topgolf. They live and breathe quick, convenient consumerism, and they're very, very impatient, right? So pace of play to them feels a bit different. And this is something that we want to be aware of. Another big data point to consider is that, again, the USGA has done nice work here with the University of Wisconsin, and the lady on stage here is a good friend of ours. It's Professor Christina Schoonover. She is a lecturer at the Uni of Wisconsin, but also the director of golf operations at Erin Hills. Erin Hills, you know, up the road from Whistling Straits, and they hosted the 2017 US Open that Brooks Koepka won. They have done some amazing research in finding out what are those experience points that really matter to golfers and how many are there, which ones do we need to pay attention to. And they found that there's 1,000 touch points in the player journey. 1,000 touch points. How's that possible? Well, if you think about it, you might see an ad, you might convert, you might book online, you're driving through a gate, you're getting welcomed, you're hitting some practice shots, you're buying a sleeve of balls. All of those are touch points, right? And they found that they're all ranking somewhere on the delighter, neutral, or frustrator level of consumer and player experience. And what they found was that the worst overall score of anything that happens to a golfer in a round of golf is corrective pace of play actions. That is, if somebody comes over to them and grunts, hey, you're slow, get on with it, right? That's corrective pace of play actions. That's the worst thing, the worst experience factor for a golfer, the worst frustrator. Other people's speed, if other people aren't quite quick enough and they're holding me up, that's equally as frustrating. And you know the story, right? You're hearing this all the time from golfers. When the phone starts to ring, there's groups in front of us holding us up, do something, right? But if you're going out and talk to them, they're like, don't talk to me, we're not slow. Talk to the guys in front of us, right? Not easy. On the flip side, obviously conditioning floats to the top in terms of positive experience factor, but positive ranger etiquette is the absolute top score. Who would have thought? Well, if you think about it, the classic way of rangering is quite confrontational, and players don't like it. A friend of mine routinely finds the ranger and tips him $20 just so he leaves him in peace. Positive ranger etiquette floats to the top as the unexpected delighter, right? So what's to learn about this? If we don't get it right, whatever else we've done, fantastic service, wonderful conditioning, it all fades into the background because that's all that players remember. So it's very, very polar. And if any of you followed the recent PGA Tour decision around pace to trim down the field and lower the penalties, that went down like a lead balloon on Twitter and with a lot of the online forums because the players have seen this all before and they really want the tour to lead by example here, right? And not make things a little bit lighter and easier for pace offenders. Right. So we understand that pace is a big deal. Now, what does it have to do with our business, right? Major golf business challenges and opportunities that we're trying to improve. Here's another partner of ours, the Woodlands Club. If you're on site, you've got an amazing clubhouse. Thanks for sponsoring this photo. So 3 business challenges are that exact one, pace and flow of play, for the reasons we mentioned. But if you position this a bit differently, that question of player throughput and quality of play is actually the main economic engine at your golf course. How many players can we serve at the highest quality of play? That determines our major revenue flow. That determines the right we have to charge higher green fees, right? So it's an economic engine, and I'm German. I think about this a little bit differently. Very efficient, obviously. I think about it as how can we optimize the throughput? How can we optimize this engine? Throughput in terms of volume, but also the quality of what comes out. And that is really, to the player, is pace and flow of play. But to you as an operator, this is your main economic driver at the golf course. The other big challenge is labor issues, right? That's actually the #1 challenge according to this same NGCOA survey that we are quoting. #1 industry challenge. Why? 4% unemployment rate and hourly wages climb up in all states, right? So how can we look at working more with more labor efficiency? How can we get more out of our existing people that we have and empower them with the right tools so that they can do what they do best, which is not run around with their hair on fire trying to make things work, but ideally we want them to build relationships and create experiences for golfers, right? And then the last portion, big opportunity right now, more so than a challenge, capacity and tee sheet inventory. you hopefully had many and most of your core days booked up, and you could have sold more inventory if you had it, right? So why not look for that? Because that is highly attractive from a dollars and profitability standpoint. You would think it's impossible, you already have capacity. Well, I'm telling you, you're not, and technology is here to help you uncover that. So why don't we turn this around and look at how do we enhance the player experience? How do we increase efficiency through automation? This is what technology does best. And how do we generate additional revenue and save money? Because why? That's the end game. That's why we're in business, right? And one of the things to remember is improvement, if we do it right, is not always that big magic button or magic wand or open heart surgery. It's actually doing what we do better and looking for compounding little tweaks that we're making that have a big impact over time. So it's not a magic wand. It is something that incrementally improves, but has a huge impact over time. You know that, and some of you have or are teaching pros. If a golfer is committed, you can see their improvement over time. All they need to do is keep being guided right, measuring their performance, and keep climbing, right? And it's the same with a golf operation. How to level up? That's the third point. So here's some of the magic. And this is the Oaks course, also a beautiful facility in your neck of the woods. So how we used to operate on our golf course is basically like this. On the left, you have a paper map, and on the left, you have traffic radio, right? This is how we used to get around town. From A to B, we look at a map, and then we have to flip to the next page if we go into the next grid. And then we listen to the traffic radio on the hour, and hopefully we don't get stuck. Nobody works like that anymore. Everyone has Google Maps out. 2 billion people are using Google Maps now, or you're using Waze, right? There's two types of people, but if I told you, put that away, I'm giving you a paper map, you tell me you're crazy. Never are you going back to that. And this is the decision that golf operators now have to make. Which way do they want to operate, right? So for me as a nerd, it's very obvious. You want to have an accurate, integrated live map that helps you live manage what happens out on the golf course. Much like Google Maps or Waze does, you want to know what's happening where, track everything that moves, all of your carts, all of your walkers, all of your machinery, all of your staff ideally, and that is your rangers, you have them. Anyone who's out there in any sort of official role, you want to know where they're at. And ideally, you want to analyze what's happening in real time and understand where are the problems on the golf course. Much like Google Maps tells you, okay, the road ahead of you is blocked because of, say, there's an accident or something. You want to know what's happening on your golf course in real time so that you can get ahead of it and untangle it before it becomes a problem. Because once a group has got a tail of 4 or 5 playing groups and they're 30 minutes out of position, you cannot get that time back. That day is hurting, right? And then you spend a lot of time mopping this up. So why not be accurate and proactive and do it with much more accuracy than you ever could with the line of sight sort of legacy methods. And I'm saying integrated because that is key. Any technology that you deploy should integrate and talk to each other. And we have probably about 20 integrations. That includes all of the major tee sheets, Golf Weather, Golf Genius, right? And if these systems have an open door policy and APIs, they can add so much more value to your operation because they're sharing information and making it easily accessible to you where you need it. So in this case, we're putting player names onto the course map and we're building profiles on players. And obviously that's super helpful when it comes to personalizing service, but also when it comes to holding players accountable. So the magic source number one is accurate live management with a map that does exactly what Google Maps does and is really accurate and tells you exactly what's going on at any time. The other portion is analytics and data to power your business engine. So again, if you think about Google Maps and Waze, if they wanted to, they could manage your city's traffic guiding system and all the traffic lights to perfection because they have all the data, right? And they know, okay, we're going to run this row of lights green for a little longer to untangle a problem further down the city. And there's there's a construction site, so this is how we're going to reroute smartly. They could do that, but there's no money in that. They're much more interested in you as a consumer. You're their product. They want to sell you ads and serve you ads. But a golf course is different, right? A golf course, you make the rules, it's yours. So we're giving you that underlying data so that you can work with your asset and really understand that economic engine that I spoke about. And in this world, it means we want to understand what is the hole by hole run time, right? What is the tee box wait time? What is time on fairway? What is time on the green? How does the hole run versus the goal time that you set out or that the original data spat out? How can we improve incrementally? Incrementally means shave 2 minutes off there, 3 minutes off here, 2 minutes off there, 2 minutes off the halfway house. You've saved 12 minutes, save 15 minutes. How do we understand what are the critical times of day? What are the critical constellations of our setup so that we can be successful? And also, how do we deploy our team to pay attention at the right times so that they can get much more done with much more accuracy, and we don't need eight hours of man hours out there just because, right? We want to get that done in 1 hour or 2 so that they can do high value jobs around the property. So that is where that underlying data really starts to get very powerful over time. And it really works. Like, it makes such a difference to your operation once you dial into this. But whether you have data or not, or whether you're willing to consider technology a lot, here's some of the items that we've learned when it comes to managing pace that are important that you can do, whether you have any sort of tracking or GPS deployed or not. And the first point here is communicate expectations and demonstrate competency. It's very important that you communicate expectations, and it needs to be part of your pro shop speech and welcome. Hey, at this course, we play to this goal time and we pay a lot of attention to it. And the starter needs to repeat that. And then the next point, talking about the starter accuracy and communication is key. The starter wants to get the groups out at the right time, not the one group 2 minutes late, the next group 2 minutes early, where inadvertently he might then reduce a 10-minute interval to 6 minutes, which causes problems down the road, right? Accuracy and communication is key. Manage early and accurately with facts, not opinion. You can do so much good if you manage pace issues before they become bad. So the first 5 holes, ideally, definitely the front 9. That is where you save your day. The back nine's too late, right? Here's a very important one, and any one of you can teach that to your team. Assist, don't police. So don't go out to players and say you're slow. Package it a bit differently. Players cannot compute if they're being called slow. They will always fight you, and they will always find reasons that it's not their fault. Be supportive, not confrontational. Obviously, that's very easy if you have a live map and you can show them, hey, our system says you're 7 minutes out of position. Help me get back in position, right? Easy, catch up half a hole. But do you hear what I did there? I never said you're slow. I said, help me get back in position. So you're out of position. So that means it's a temporary state. It's not like you made a temporary mistake that you can fix easy. I'm not telling you you're stupid. I'm not telling you you're slow. I'm telling you, hey, you can work with me. So that's a very easy way that we've learned to reframe this very, very emotional pace problem and slow problem. Just say, hey, you guys, you're out of position. Help me catch up half a hole. Let's get back in position. And the last point is very important. Anything that you want to improve, and you do it daily. You do it with your T-sheet. You do it with your financial data. You do it with your superintendent's consumption. You want to track, measure outcomes, and look for improvements, right? Otherwise, you're flying blind. So if we all agree that pace of play is important, if we all agree that what happens out on the golf course is your economic engine, you have so much to gain from understanding more about it. And here's some examples of how a lot of the operators out there make use of this. Does it work? If we have this live management tool and a good analytics data backend that really helps you tweak, yes, it does. So here's an example at Coghill Ravines, 21 minutes round time reductions. We see that all the time. The key, however, is the quality of play, how it stabilizes, and you don't have bad days anymore, right? And that consistency is obviously worth a lot to your players. The other question is, how does this work with dynamic pricing? Because from what I understand, many of you in the audience are daily fee operators. you should have considered dynamic pricing. A lot of you would have deployed it, but with dynamic pricing, if your $50 round now gets charged out at 90, there's heightened expectations, right? So if you're asking twice as much for your key rounds in the day, an unhappy player is also going to shout twice as loudly, right? So we have to deliver. If we want the right to dynamically price, we have to deliver for those players. And it goes bad very quickly if we don't, right? But it goes really good very quickly if we do. So enhanced play experiences, drive repeat play. Here's an example from Matt Barksdale over at Pinus, one of our partners. They're saying that the net promoter score, which means how do people rate their experience and do they want to come back? Are they sharing it with others, rated out of 10? Got 20 points better on the number 4 course and 12 points better on, 20 on number 2, 12 on number 4. So even an operator that is so good is getting incrementally better around that. And that's one of their metrics that they measure. So from an NPS standpoint, he's saying that's unheard of. And they could only do that because they had the data and they really understood what was going on. So what does that mean for your operation? When you're running dynamic pricing, you need to deliver on the quality of play that you are serving up, because players are so much more sensitive. They're happy to pay a premium fee to get that tee time they want, but then you have to deliver. And here's an operator that has done that really well. It's a very unassuming municipal course, and they've driven up their revenue by 85%. And he's saying dynamic pricing and 5-hour rounds don't mix. So they focus on pace of play so they can deliver on the quality promise. And it's really hitting the nail on the head from a revenue perspective, because not only are they driving up revenue, they're also freeing up additional capacity. That's what I mentioned earlier. Yes, it is possible once you start dialing into it. There's new ways of doing that. And here's an example. Adding capacity during peak hours. How could we possibly do that, right? And improving the quality of play for everyone else on the day. That's the silver bullet. Let's see if that's possible. So one of the things that we always look at is the underlying data of how does your course run in sort of these hourly increments, before 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9, and as the day progresses. And we want to know what's the play volume that you see. We want to know what is the pace of play, the average pace that happens during that time. And here, everyone wants to book your first tee time out, right? Because nobody's in front of them. But what if we can offer them, and at this course that's running to around about a 425 goal time, 420 goal time. They're starting that day at 317, according to data, first hour, second hour, 344. So we're almost 40 minutes faster than goal time. Here's your opportunity. And we have done this and helped our partners do this time and again, dial into that. And the way that this looks with technology is that you can now run variable goal times. You tighten your goal times at certain parts of the day, and you manage your course to a tighter benchmark. You want things to move more quickly, and you want to try and attract those players that want that and want to also pay a premium for those quicker round experiences, right? And then you relax things a bit into the afternoon, and there you want to try and attract the dads and sons, the new players, the players where pace is not so much of a thing. And you want to give them a bit more interval time and breathing space potentially. But in the morning, because players are going 40 minutes faster than your core time, you can actually now start to tighten your intervals safely. And again, skeptics might say it's not possible. Yes, it's absolutely possible. And what's important here to see is that these dollars, once you generate them, are straight bottom line, right? They are highly attractive. Like $100,000 generated, if we're tightening our 10-minute interval for that 2-hour slot to 8 minutes, that's 3 tee times. That's 3 times 4 players, sold 4 times a week. That's $100,000 in green fees. But it's not just $100,000, not the same as $100,000 that you're generating in a pro shop at low margin, in your restaurant at low margin. This is straight bottom line. And you're making more capacity available to players, right? Giving more people a chance to play and come back again on other days and at other times also to your operation. And ideally at these high-priced, dynamic-priced rounds. Here's an operator that's driven $500,000 in revenue doing that. And yeah, it's obviously a mix of labor savings, it's a mix of dynamic pricing, and it's a mix of really delivering and squeezing out optimization capacity out of your T-sheet. And here's an operator that is on everyone's bucket list, that's Whistling Straits, and they've done all of it as well. Efficiencies, labor savings, T-sheet optimization, capacity creation. So what their math is 2% additional capacity equals 8% more profit. So it's hugely valuable to your business if you can find it. So it's the same as you running an airline, you've got an airplane, it's running a capacity, good for you. What if we can find another 2 rows of seats that we never had, right? That's your additional 2 tea times or 3 tea times, especially in the key morning period. That is straight bottom line because your running costs are already covered, right? Freeing up player time, increase the spend in food and beverage and pro shop and accommodation if you have that available. That's also proven, right? If people have half an hour more to spend with you, well, they're going to spend more money with you. If you're playing them half an hour over the expected time, many of them have to slam the trunk and leave, and you're leaving money on the table. And high net promoter score measurable always equals high revenues, right? You're earning the right to higher fees. You're creating more value. So yeah, this is just a teaser. Remember, pace of play is important, more important than ever with that younger cohort of players coming in that's more impatient. Whether we like it or not, that's how they roll, right? Is it possible to adjust our operation, doing what we do better with technology? Absolutely. It doesn't take a lot. It's easy to learn, much like it was easy to learn for you when you started firing up Google Maps. You can't even remember anymore because it's 10 years ago. Easy to learn. Now it's second nature, right? Nobody would go back to paper maps. And then thirdly, what are some of those tricks to dialing in variable tea times, variable intervals, and managing the course according to data, right? And really looking at what's the whole by whole runtime? What happens if we do this pin placement versus another? What happens if we make this hole a little bit harder to play, so we buy time for the next hole, right? All of those things you can try, you can work with your team to incrementally improve and it get better and better and better. And we've got partners that have improved year over year for 9 years straight. It's a beautiful, well-oiled German machine now. How things run obviously makes me happy, but from a business point of view and from a player experience and happiness point of view, it's a game changer. This is all from me. And if there are any questions, Jacob, maybe you can help me field them. Or David, he's online as well. I hope you found this valuable.
Any questions from those in the room? I think they're in education overload.
Thank God I didn't have any data to share.
So, well, I'm really glad that we were able to make this happen. It's, like I said, new territory for us. Thank you all for sticking around for this. And I think it's nighttime there right now, right? It's like, what time is it there?
Yeah, I'm 7 hours over. I'm in the Central European time zone, yeah.
Yeah. So, anything? That's it. All right, I think we're good. And we've recorded this. Will we have access to this later?
Yes, there's a recording. I'll share it with you gladly. And if there's any questions that you might have in conversation, chat to Jacob. That's why he's there. Okay, thank you. Thanks everyone for your time and enjoy the rest of the afternoon.
Thank you, Elaine. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.